January is National Slavery and Human Trafficking Prevention Month. Maria Trujillo is with the Colorado Human Trafficking Council, and she joins us to talk about the issue of human trafficking and the state's multi-year campaign to educate residents about this crime. Maria, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
You betcha. Let's start with the basics. So what exactly is human trafficking?
Human trafficking is the denial of basic human rights to freedom and dignity. Human trafficking is the exploitation of an individual through force, fraud, or coercion for some type of labor. This could be within the commercial sex industry or within other industries such as construction, hospitality, or agriculture. Human trafficking is often not what people think it is, and that is why the state of Colorado launched a multi-year campaign to educate Colorado residents about this hidden crime.
Yeah, which is a good thing for sure. What does human trafficking look like in Colorado?
We see human trafficking occur in lots of different industries, as I mentioned before, in commercial sex industry, the agriculture industry, in construction, at restaurants. We've had cases. We've even had cases in higher education and nursing homes. And really, it's preying on the vulnerabilities that people possess. Either they are vulnerable because of poverty, housing instability, maybe there's abuse in the home, there's abuse, substance abuse, maybe there is just a lack of connection with family and friends, and those vulnerabilities are preyed upon by the trafficker.
You mentioned Colorado's awareness campaign. You're trying to educate people about this. How does that work? How's the campaign working?
Well, during the first year of the campaign, we created a website, thisishumantrafficking.com. We also created compelling content that residents can see and hear on statewide television, radio, digital channels, as well as outdoor advertising. We also wanted to inform residents about Colorado's human trafficking hotline, where people can get assistance and help for victims and survivors, and for the general public to be able to report suspicious situations of human trafficking.
And I understand there are some misconceptions about human trafficking out there. What would you say are some of the big ones?
One of the biggest one is that human trafficking is synonymous with sex trafficking, that's the only part of human trafficking that exists. And in fact, there is both labor and sex trafficking, and we see many labor trafficking cases being dealt with within our service providers here in Colorado. Another big misconception is that human trafficking only impacts women and girls. And the reality is that human trafficking impacts males equally as well, and both within sex trafficking and labor trafficking. Another big misconception is that human trafficking only impacts immigrants and foreign nationals, or it's something that's happening abroad, not in our country. And the fact is that U.S. citizens are just as vulnerable to this crime as foreign nationals because of the various vulnerabilities that we possess. And the other big myth is that human trafficking victims can just walk away, why do they stay with those traffickers? And what's happening at the end of the day is that traffickers are using power and control mechanisms, much like domestic violence, to manipulate and psychologically coerce their victims to stay, making it very difficult for a human trafficking victim to find a way out.
Yeah, that is all good to know, good information. So if people want to get involved, if they would like to help somehow, what would you suggest?
First, I think it's important that people understand that human trafficking victims may not know that they're victims of a crime at all, or they may not have the language of human trafficking to communicate their situation. While other victims may think that there's something fishy going on in their circumstances, they may not be able to leave because of the manipulation and coercion that's happening, or may not actually know that there are services and assistance for them. So first, I think people should really educate themselves about what to look for in terms of human trafficking, and make sure that they understand that human trafficking is happening in Colorado, both in urban settings as well as rural settings all across our communities. Then I would also say, make sure to learn more about human trafficking by visiting thisishumantrafficking.com. I would also personally suggest not to engage directly with a trafficker, but instead, if you suspect human trafficking is happening to you or someone you know or have seen, call the human trafficking hotline at 866-455-5075. You could get help anonymously or report suspicious activity to this hotline. There's also a text line if people are more comfortable texting, and that's 720-999-9724.
For making us more aware, and thanks for all you do, and best of luck to you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, take care.